Okay, so it's been a minute. We've gotten to 2000 pretty quickly, and I haven't really been able to sit down and kind of just really thank all of you and show appreciation to all of you for subscribing and really helping out the channel and stuff like that. So I made a community post asking for Q&A questions and stuff like that. I didn't get very many, but I don't ever really get that many comments or likes or anything like that on my community posts anyway. It's probably because YouTube is doing something stupid with it and it's probably not pushing it to people or something. But besides that, I made a couple of community posts asking for Q&A questions, and I thought, hey, this would probably be a great way to kind of show some appreciation and also get a little bit more connection between me and my viewers here. So we're going to do a Q&A here. You can consider it a 2,000 subscriber special or a 3,000 subscriber special, however you want to look at it. We are pretty close to 3,000. I'd very much appreciate a subscription if you haven't subscribed yet, but you don't have to. So getting into this, here's our first question. My Razer Crest. They asked, when did you first get into VR? And this question, it has kind of multiple answers to it. It's a little bit tricky to answer, really, because the question could be interpreted in a couple of ways. One, when did you first get into VR as a hobby? Like, when did you first start getting interested into VR? When was the first time you actually put on a headset? These kinds of things like that, right? So to answer the first half of it, I slowly started gaining interest in virtual reality and VR when Oculus was way more new and the first Quest came out. That was around the time that I started getting really interested in trying out VR. I suppose you could say it happened even way before then because of Pawn Stars of all things. I learned about the Virtual Boy, which was a Nintendo virtual reality headset that they did decades ago, and I thought that was super cool and stuff like that. It kind of probably piqued my interest in VR right then and there, but I think my real introduction into VR, my real interest in VR happened when Oculus was more new and they released the first Quest, and that was when I was like, man, this looks pretty cool. Like, this looks like something I'd really want to try. But the problem I had was I didn't have enough money for it at the time, and also I get car sick really easily, motion sick really easily, so I was worried that if I got into this VR thing, I wouldn't really be able to do it that long at all, or at all, because I was worried I would get sick or something like that, so I didn't really do it for a while. And then the Quest 2 came out. They announced the Quest 2 at least. They announced the Quest 2, and I saw a lot of stuff on it and things like that. I'd been following VR for a little bit at this point, and I was like, I gotta have that headset. I have to have it. This is going to be just like the Switch, where I didn't have enough money for it, or like I had enough money for it, but I put off buying it, and then it was sold out and I couldn't get it or something like that. So I decided I would pre-order it, and I pre-ordered it, and within a few days after that, it sold out and you couldn't pre-order it anymore. So I was pretty happy that I was able to sneak that in there and get it. But yeah, once I got the Quest 2 for the first time, I put it on, and that could be considered the first time I got into VR as well. So it has a couple of answers there. And also, this also answers Allison Derrick's question, which was what was your first VR headset, which was the Quest 2. Now we have another question here by Michael Rains, who asked, what was your inspiration to make YouTube videos? This kind of has a couple of answers to it as well, because this isn't my first channel. When I first set out to make YouTube videos, it was many years ago. I was friends with these British YouTubers on Instagram, and we would talk sometimes we would play games together, and they made videos themselves and stuff like that. I popped in for one video at one point, I believe, and they just had so much fun, like, making these YouTube videos and doing all these cool things. Regardless of how good they were at the game, they made fun. Like, they made it fun. They made it such a fun thing. So I wanted to try it, not only for that, but as I thought about it more, I thought it could be a great way to maybe get my name out there and maybe get some more attention towards my own work, such as my books and writing and stuff like that, which I do that, of course, as well. So I thought it could help with that, but also if it popped off and it became big enough, maybe I could make a lot of people happy or interested or entertained or something like that. And that's kind of always been my goal, even outside of YouTube, with books and other stuff like that, is to make people happy and entertain them and stuff like that. So that was kind of the main inspiration for it. When it came time to do this channel, though, when I set out to make the VR YouTube channel, the mindset was a little bit different. I had done some VR stuff on the other channel, and it didn't really work that well, and I was curious as to why, because the videos themselves were pretty good, but I kind of figured it was probably because my audience wasn't really used to VR or anything like that. So I figured maybe I could make a VR channel just for VR and stuff like that. I mean, it's another huge passion of mine, so I could definitely make a whole channel just on that. I don't have to make any huge commitments, just one video a week, and so that's kind of what I did. But before I did, I decided to spend about a month looking up YouTube videos on VR and stuff like that, looking up different kind of the search and stuff like that. I would just search VR and look at channels and videos and stuff like that on VR and stuff like that, so I can get an idea of like what people are doing and what might work and what might not work. So basically I did a lot of research, and then finally I released the channel, and it's worked. I got a huge amount of traction quickly, but now it's starting to slow down a little bit, which is unfortunate, but hey, we can work on that, right? And that's what I'm doing currently, is trying to work on that and stuff. But yeah, that was kind of the inspirations for this channel and just YouTube videos in general. Now, Allison Derrick also asked the same thing. Why did you start making videos? Just answered that one. My Razer Crest had another question. They said, if you could choose to own any VR of your choice, which one would it be? This one's a little bit tough because I really want the Valve Index, but I want it for some kind of weird reasons, to be honest. One of the reasons why I want it is because obviously it's a PC VR headset, and I don't have a true PC VR headset. The Quest 2 can obviously play PC VR, but you have to use either a link cable or AirLink and all this other jazz, and it doesn't quite work properly and stuff like that half the time, so it could be annoying on its own. But another reason why I would really love like a Valve Index, for example, is the knuckles, the VR controller knuckles. The knuckle controllers just look so cool. I've thought about just buying just those by themselves, but I don't think they work on my Quest, and I don't want to do that. So, but yeah, I mean, it's a $1,500 headset when you take into account the base stations or the lighthouses or whatever they call them, and then of course the controllers and all this other stuff. You need a lot of money to just do it. If I had the controllers and the lighthouses and stuff like that, I would just go ahead probably and pay the $500 or whatever it is just for the headset, and then boom, there I would go. So I think I would choose the Valve Index for those reasons, but also I still hear great things about it. Like even to this day, I still hear great things about the Valve Index, even though it's very old and you would think it would be very outdated at this point, but I still to this day hear great things about it. So that is definitely one headset I would consider. Another reason would be because about now it would probably be a lot cheaper than some other PC VR headset, and still be pretty good by itself. But one thing I will say is I'm definitely keeping my eye on Valve right now. I'm keeping my eye on Steam because it seems like they might be releasing a headset sometime within the next couple of years or so. So I'm definitely trying to keep my eye on that, because if they do, I might try and get it. Of course, it would probably be too expensive for myself, but that's my goal right now, and that's probably the VR headset that I would choose, the Valve Index, or any other PC VR that I've heard great things about. Alakaru Inkune, I believe that's how you say that. They asked a question: if you have 24 hours left to live, what are you doing in your last moments? I love this question because a lot of the other questions were VR related, and it's kind of nice to have a break between the different questions about the channel and all this other stuff. Because again, this adds a little bit more of a personal element to everything. But the answer to this is very complicated, because if you have 24 hours to live and you know you have that 24 hours left to live, there's not really a whole lot you can do. If you wanted to go see the Great Pyramids of Giza or whatever else, right? You won't really be able to do that because you're probably not going to be able to set that up and be able to go there and back in that amount of time, right? Same thing with something like the Eiffel Tower or any of these other great monuments of the world or something like that, which I don't know if I'd care to see the Great Eiffel Tower or anything like that. But there's a lot of these places that like a lot of people usually would love to go to, and if they knew they only had X amount of time left to live, they would probably go out and do that. For me personally, though, I wouldn't really do that because I feel like I would be wasting a lot of time setting everything up and doing all that stuff. So something I would probably do if I had 24 hours left to live is kind of just mostly sit at home, and I would probably stay awake for 20 of those 24 hours and then go to sleep for the last 4 hours or last few hours or something like that, if I could even manage that, knowing what's going to happen. But for that 20 hours that I'm awake, I would probably spend a lot of it talking to different people and stuff like that, and giving my last goodbyes to them, I suppose, is one thing that I would do. Another thing, if I had time, would be to do a lot of goofy, wacky pranks on complete strangers in like my neighborhood or something like that, because that could be pretty fun. Something that it's one of those things where like you wouldn't necessarily get in huge trouble for it, but you don't want to do it because there are consequences to it. But I mean, you're going to have 20 hours left to live. So like, why not just go ahead and do it anyway, right? But stuff like that, right? Where it's just these wacky pranks that don't really hurt anyone, but would be really fun to pull off. So stuff like that would also be really fun to do. And another thing, of course, I would spend a lot of that time writing. Some of it I would probably try and finish some story that I was already working on, or I would probably be just writing out some final thoughts and ideas and a will, if you will, like my last will and testament, so to speak. Those are a handful of things that I would do. A lot of it would be writing, though. I believe a lot of it would be writing. I don't know if I would spend a second of it in VR, but it's kind of hard to say. Because I love VR so much, but I don't really know what I would do in VR that I wouldn't accidentally spend too much time in doing and end up not having time for the other stuff. So yeah, that's a great question, and there's a lot of stuff that I could do in 24 hours if that was how much time I had left to live, and it's tough. It's tough to think about, I think, for anyone really. But now we have our last question here, also by Allison Derrick. Thank you so much for being subscribed for, how long does that say? It says publicly subscribed to you for 1 month. So yeah, you've been subscribed for 1 month. Thank you so much for that. But to answer your question, which is if your Oculus is hanging over lava, and the same thing for all of your clothes, what are you saving? The answer to that is it's going to sound weird, but to me, it's super obvious what to choose in this case, and that is the clothes. For one, for the first factor in this is it's probably going to be a lot harder to recover those clothes. Like, obviously, if I wanted to get new clothes, I could do that, but I really like my clothes. So if I was to lose all those, some of the shirts I have, I can't just remake because they were custom made or whatever else like that, right? So I can't just replace some of those. Some of them have more significant value to me than a single headset, a single Oculus headset, and stuff like that. And then the other factor, which I think a lot of people might not consider in this, is that all of your clothes is going to add up to way more than just the headset. Like, your clothes are expensive. Clothes are expensive. So if you have a lot of clothes, or just a full wardrobe of clothes that you've collected over a few years, that's going to be way more expensive than a single headset, a single Quest 2, which is what I have. So if all my clothes were hanging over lava, I would choose the clothes instead of the headset, I think, unless there was something weirdly specific on my headset that I had to have and I would lose forever or something like that, right? Where it was like some kind of important, crucial info or some kind of crucial piece that's inside there, something that I absolutely have to have because it'll be lost forever, like a picture or something like that, right? That would be the only case that I would ever take the Quest 2 or any other VR headset over that. But yeah, clothes are expensive, so honestly, just like a pair of jeans could easily be $30, $50, even $80 to $100 in some cases. So just a few of those alone was the value of a headset. So to me, it's very obvious to choose the clothes purely off of that. And a headset is a lot easier to replace. So yeah, thank you, Allison Derrick, and Alakar Inkune, and Michael Rains, and My Razor Crest. Thank you guys for the questions. If you guys have questions that you would love to leave in the comments of this video, definitely feel free to do so. I will take a look at them in about a month or so, and maybe make another Q&A or something, or maybe I'll just go ahead and straight up answer them in the comments below, and stuff like that. But yeah, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video, even though it was very different from other stuff because it's just me answering questions and stuff like that. But yeah, I hope this allowed us to kind of connect a little bit more. And yeah, feel free to subscribe and like the video, maybe share the video or the channel or something like that, because of course all of those things greatly definitely help out this channel a ton, and I'd very much appreciate it, as I have appreciated all of you, and I greatly thank all of you for the support so far. But yeah, do all those things, and remember, most importantly, to stay asleep.